Many people, including myself, paid for the upcoming Starfield DLC entitled Shattered Space right up front when Bethesda's mega title was released in September of 2023. But does anybody care about it now? After many months of Steam reviews slowly going further and further down as players consistently say negative things about the game, Bethesda hasn't said much about the expansion, but many are hopeful that it will bring some kind of redemption to this massive game that has been such a disappointment to many. Welcome to GameList Plus, I'm Josh, and in this video I am asking, does anyone care about the Starfield DLC? Let's take a look at the negative perspective, the positive perspective, and what we might get from Shattered Space, and try to determine the fate of Starfield as a whole. Near the end, I'll talk about Bethesda's future and the Elder Scrolls 6. How it started for me. I remember the day in early August of 2023 when I finally decided I would put down $100 so that I could get early access to Starfield when it would release at the beginning of September. I was sitting at my computer thinking about how unseasonably comfortable it was for August, because it's usually in the blistering hot 90s, 100s. It was still hot, but not too bad. I remember being very excited about the fact that one of my first videos had hit 50,000 views when I'd only started my channel back in June. I was really eager to make brand new and interesting content, and with Starfield on the horizon, I knew I wanted to get it as soon as possible. When I was looking at the $100 price tag for the deluxe edition, one of the big motivations was that you get to play it 5 days early, but it also had the title of the upcoming DLC, Shattered Space, attached to it. I thought this is a no-brainer. Obviously, I'm going to have something great to play in addition to this amazing game that's about to come out. So I took the plunge and threw down that $100, guaranteeing me access to the future DLC. 7 months later, Bethesda still owes me and all you other pre-orderers out there the Starfield Shattered Space DLC. Now, let's talk about the negatives. The incredible amount of hype surrounding Starfield as it came to its release was absolutely insane, as you know. Obviously, Bethesda really intended it to be that way because they clearly had a lot of faith in their product. They also had a lot of major fans created from the Fallout games and the incredible Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, like me for example. Sadly, the game was not as well received as they had hoped. Reviews on the game call it boring, that it has dull combat, that it has no vision, no passion, and that the game has more loading screens than gameplay. Some even say that playing the game feels like a chore. At the time of this video, the overall reviews for Starfield on Steam come in as mixed, with 95,598 reviews. And recent reviews are mostly negative, out of the 1,793 reviews. Yikes. I will say that I feel like there's a certain amount of Starfield bashing that's going on here, like it's just become a club of finding a new and creative way to say something bad about the game. In any case, the game definitely does have its downfalls. In my opinion, some of those elements that are in those reviews are actually pretty true. The exploration of planets is on the boring side. There's nothing much to do in a barren landscape with some rocks and a few creatures here and there. That being said, it doesn't mean that that element isn't fun for some people. I just found it nothing like exploring Skyrim, where you could just aimlessly wander and find interesting and fun new things to interact with. Another gripe I have personally with the game is going from planet to planet and solar system to solar system really is just loading screens. If they had just built a better transition system of taking off from the planet when going from one place to the next, rather than just waiting for it to appear, it would have been a lot more fun in that aspect. Now that does not mean that this game is all bad, so let me talk a little bit about the positives. But very quickly, if you are enjoying this video, this is the perfect time for you to hit that like button. It really helps the channel a lot. And also don't forget to hit subscribe so you can see all my upcoming videos. Anyway, there are plenty of other people that truly love this game. Some people say that they've spent a couple hundred hours playing and still want to dive even deeper. That the new Game Plus is super engaging, that the sheer scale of the game gives it good bones. Many people also say that the game is greatly improved with mods built on those good bones. Many people love the storyline and found it quite intriguing, and love the fact that you can play the game the way that you like to play. The vastness of space and the insane number and variety of planets are considered as a main attraction to many people. They say that the game certainly has a slow start, but that it picks up and is just as good as any other Bethesda game. That is an opinion. I personally feel like it does get better as you gain very important abilities, and the story is fun and interesting enough. And overall, I do feel like it is a worthwhile and fun game to play. It's just not as incredible and wonderful as I had hoped personally, and I know a lot of people feel the same way. I think the vastness of the universe in this game is more overwhelming than awe-inspiring, but having so many different things you can possibly do does give the opportunity to really just dive in if you so desire. I found that the most enjoyment that I got from this game was just following the main storyline itself, and that seems to be where Shattered Space is going to be the most appealing. So what is Shattered Space going to be anyway? We don't know a whole lot of the details that are officially confirmed about Shattered Space, but what we do know is that it is quote unquote a major expansion that includes new story content, new locations, new gear, and much more. That much more seems like it's a very important factor. Speculation is rampant on the internet, with many people saying that the expansion will be mostly about the Varun faction, that underexplored interstellar government that worships the deity called the Great Serpent. Others theorize that Shattered Space may be a time travel story that takes you back to when Earth was destroyed before the events that take place in the main game, which I feel like would be a really cool way to pull people back in that stopped playing and to also spark interest for people that have never played it at all. Another big theory is that Shattered Space will basically just expand on the main story after you become Starborn and cross into the multiverse. Maybe there's a device that lets you jump between dimensions? It would be really cool if you could press a button and the environment would change around you as you go from dimension to dimension, seeing the differences as they go. All of these things are speculation, obviously, so we will have to wait until Bethesda drops some kind of trailer or tease or some kind of information. Otherwise, we'll just have to wait and see. But that brings me back to the main question. Does anyone care about the new Starfield DLC? With so many negative feelings being perpetuated about Starfield, I think Bethesda has a bit of a challenge ahead of them trying to get players to come back to the game with the new DLC. I think a lot of people feel hurt by Bethesda giving a lot of promises they don't feel were lived up to. But I also feel like people built this game up so much in their own heads that they were bound to be disappointed by it. I, for one, can say for a fact that I definitely do care. Hence me making this video. I definitely don't think that Starfield is done yet. I think there's still a lot of potential to be found and expanded upon within this game, but not everyone is going to feel the same way that I do. I think there are a lot of people who have simply moved on from Starfield and really just don't care, having paid for the expansion or not. Regardless of Bethesda's attempt to pull in new players, as well as a lot of people who have already played the game, they will be met with even more disapproval. A lot of people just really don't care anymore. I've also definitely heard people making the comparison to Cyberpunk 2077 being a disaster when it was released, then being pretty much completely redeemed and completed with Phantom Liberty, but I really don't think that Starfield can be put in the same category. I don't think that Bethesda has that much more time to devote to try and improve upon Starfield when so many people have given up on it altogether. Besides, we want Bethesda to keep working on the Elder Scrolls 6. Do not go back to Starfield, please. There really is a lingering feeling of disappointment with Starfield because I really wanted something like Skyrim, but in space, and it just didn't deliver that for me. But I think that the expectations have been lowered so much that a good expansion DLC is actually a very welcome concept. Not to mention, Bethesda actually owes the expansion to all of us who already paid for Shattered Space. I think there are a lot of people who really just care more about the whole saga of Starfield as a whole, far beyond the game itself, how it's just such a story on its own. A lot of us are quite curious about the future of Bethesda games, and most importantly, Elder Scrolls 6. There's a certain level of fear that I know I personally have that because of the way Starfield turned out, that Elder Scrolls 6 is going to turn out to be a huge disappointment as well, and that is terrifying and makes me very sad. Hopefully Bethesda has learned a massive lesson with the way that they put Starfield together. The audience simply wants next generation gameplay, and Starfield just feels like it's stuck back in like 2016. I think Elder Scrolls 6 will inherently do better than Starfield if it's built on the same fundamentals as Skyrim, which it kind of has to be. We want a vast open world, not an entire galaxy filled with loading screens. I get the feeling that Elder Scrolls 6 will be delayed even more because of all the fixes that they are probably making to make sure it's a worthy sequel to Skyrim. Are we not going to see Elder Scrolls 6 until PlayStation 6, all the way in 2027 or later? It's beginning to feel like it'll never happen, but it will, I think. What do you think? There are so many questions to be answered here. Obviously, the biggest one being, do you care about Starfield Shattered Space DLC? Tell us why you like Starfield. Why do you hate it? Do you think Elder Scrolls 6 is doomed? Let's talk about it in the comments below. While you're here, check out this video I made about the upcoming action RPG Crimson Desert that steals a lot of elements from some of the best games of the last decade. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you next time on GameList Plus.
Believe me, it's either you or me.
Hey, buddy. We came here for some crappy coffee, that's all.